the community who have resources like yourself to help us with the prize money. So I'll talk to you about that afterwards. I'm sure you'll be supportive, as you usually are, of community activities. Uh, Next, Sister Valeria has a report for her committee. She'll come forward next. Okay. I have a habit of putting it up too high sometimes.
Good evening, everyone. Our committee is the Social Issues Committee. We met twice at the Powell Center in the last month. I put these topics on the table for us to discuss. Our problems are big in our community. Topics were absentee father, child abuse and incest, depression, drugs, include alcohol, employment, environmental racism, government corruption, inequality, isolation, moral decline, poverty, prison, social disorganization, and social events. Patrice Baines is head of Moral Decline. Charmaine Hall is drugs and alcohol. James Moore, social events for our youth. Bobby Taylor is for prison. Valeria Marcus is myself, child abuse and incest. I asked everyone in our committee to write something up, the issues are, and to find solutions. Bobby Taylor, has a program called the Angel McRae Movement. He wants to start programs where he gets inmates records expunged. So when they get out of prison, they're able to get jobs and not have it held over to their head. We need lawyers to help with that. We need funds for that. He also incorporated a wonderful program here to help train for interviews, help get people together, prison housing and everything included. But the main thing is getting people's records expunged. We also know when people's records have bad things on them, they cannot get employment with the city. We want to also incorporate in this program for small businesses to hire some people who have records so they can have employment, to keep giving them chances to get their lives together and not hold it against them. James Moore wants to incorporate more programs. He wrote a large write-up for programs for kids to have more activities 7 days a week, not just after Boys and Girls Club or PALS. He wants more programs, musical, more things at Gardens Basins in the summertime to bring a maybe entertainer who has a message for youth and let the kids see something positive from a rap star or a young entertainer. Patrice Baines wrote something very wonderful about the problems. She wants to, in our society, to help. I have a lot of paperwork here, as you see, it's a lot of writing. For our youth to moral decline is all around us, as we see, with violence. Her program, she wants to get to the root of the problem, which is who's benefit of the crimes with the guns, the drugs in our neighborhoods. Who's at the root of it? What's causing all these youth to get so away from the church, from family, from acting right in school? My thing is child abuse and incest. That's a big task. This is my solution. I'm not going to read everything. I'm going to give it to Mr. Collini. We need a local child abuse advocates to speak at all local school settings. RAIN is Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. It's out of Washington, D.C. as a hotline. We need to distribute posters, pamphlets about child abuse, and a hotline phone number throughout our educational system, churches, youth centers, and neighborhoods. We need to set up a local child abuse hotline. We need to have designated centers for children to discuss privately about their abuse at home. Our center needs to report all child abuse and incest information to the proper authorities and/or agencies. We also need to pressure the Supreme Court to pass a new federal penal code for life in prison for all convicted child abusers. Also, I want to say this, it was something in the newspaper, Friday's paper, Lang City Press. A Lang City prosecutor urges end to time limits in sex abuse cases. The New Jersey endangerment statute needs to have amendments made to child abuse laws and to extend the limitations. This Lang City prosecutor claimed that her uncle in Margate, Bill Cullen, molested her and some other people in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. And New Jersey lifted the statute of limitations for criminally prosecuting child sex abuse in 1996, but it's not retroactive. The statute of limitations for civil sex abuse lawsuits is 2 years after abuse victim turns 18 or discovers the abuse. Child abuse is real. Nobody wants to touch on it. Incest is real. It's all over our nation. Nobody wants to touch on that either. Also, in my experience as a social worker, I found out that most, not all, but doing my research over the years, that a lot of people on death row who convicted homicide were severely abused as children. And that rage came out then when something like ticked them off or got angry, that rage to kill, that instinct. It's something behind children who are committing crimes. You just don't go out and say, I'm going to shoot Johnny because he's making me angry. It's a root. We have to reach the root. Kids need to talk alone. I'm 60 years old. When I was growing up, we had nowhere to go. No one was talking about it in the 50s and 60s. No one wanted to hear anything. It's wide open. That RAIN network I got from President Obama when I wrote him about child abuse a couple years ago, and he contacted me with that agency. I'm a speaker for the bureau for that agency. It's called RAIN. It has a wide world network. It's online, hotline, pamphlets, and it really help people to come forward with what's going on in their house. Child abuse is all kind of things, as we know. It's not just sexual, it's neglect, it's disrespecting your children, it's not feeding your children, it's not taking an interest in them at all, not taking them to the doctors. You have to find out what's causing these kids to act the way they're acting. And it starts in the home. Absentee fathers, it's drugs, it's all kind of things. I'm not going to say any more. We did our homework. We're going to meet once a month. And we do need some more workers. We have a lot of topics. Anyone that's interested, please call me at 215-704-0419. You can contact me at Union Baptist Church. My members of our committee is Patrice Baines, Bobby Taylor, James Moore. They're excellent workers. They're on fire to help our community at all levels. Thank you very much.
Those committee people who have notes, I didn't want to ask for a designated note taker, but I guess we're going to have to get there soon. Give that to Fareed. Stand up, Fareed, so they'll see you. Fareed in an expensive suit in the real time. So Fareed will collate the notes so at the next meeting we will have them to hand out. Let me announce this housekeeping again for those who came in late. Excuse me. Tomorrow, Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the Board of Education meeting, we want you to meet us there. We're going to encourage the Board of Education about the metal detectors in our school. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock, 1300 Atlantic Avenue, 5th floor. 5th floor, 6 o'clock tomorrow. We're going to encourage the school board about the metal detectors, which we have developed as a consensus position for the community, really under the leadership of Reverend Bay. It's the first person I heard talk about it, but it doesn't matter who's first. It's a position that I think that everyone agrees with, and so we're going to ask you to join us at 6 o'clock tomorrow. Sixth floor? Okay, 6th floor. Councilman Small says 6th floor. Sister Valeria, you already have, Brother Taylor, you already have a volunteer to help with the expungement. Chris Brown is the assemblyman from here. Christina, Chris is a lawyer, and he has volunteered to help you, so you can get with him after the meeting, exchange numbers so that he can work on the expungement project. Thank you, Chris, for that. Does anyone have a burning question related directly to the topics we're talking about? As you can see, let me say this now, bring them forward. As you can see, we're in the working stage now. We had the emotions, we had the the responses, the spontaneous responses. Now we're in the work. We have committees, we have people who want to work, we have people who know how to work. So if you're not on the committee, if you have an interest, then see one of the committee persons. Sister Ruth, would you stand up for a minute? Sister Ruth is not Reverend Days, obviously, but she will take anyone who wants to work on Reverend Days' committee, her or Sister Smith here. If you want to work on the violence committee, any of those subcommittees that we talked about, committee on youth, committee on adopt a block, committee on community liaisons, committee on the young male conference, committee on anti-violence essay contest. See them. Sister Valeria, who is on the social issues, she just made her report. You can see her. Dr. Small for education, if you want to work on that committee. Are there any questions, Lois? No questions? All right. Mayor, Guardian, Vince Mazio, and Chris Brown are going to make brief comments, followed by Gilliam and Small. Our public officials are going to make brief comments. In that order.
You can't make fun of Fareed with the expensive suit, Brother Kaleem. Obviously, as we try to stop the violence, we all need to be working together, and certainly the city needs to be a part of it, and the city can also be helpful with private industry that's coming to the city to provide some of the programs that we know have been missing for a long time. So I just want to update you on a few items. You may be aware of it or you may be not. As Bass Pro is being built in the middle of the walk, they will include a bowling alley as part of that program. So I know a lot of you said that bowling was an important issue that we need to bring back to the community. As they open up Bass Pro, you'll see that there'll be a really attractive bowling alley that'll be under the sea. The project that's coming in front of Revel and Showboat, the Barai project, that's going to include, they haven't decided on the number, but it's going to be between 6 and 10 movie theaters. It'll be a Revel movie theater. They're looking to break ground in this summer, and you'll see about 16 months for them to build out. But the movie theater, the 250 homes that they're building, and the supermarket will all be coming into town. I want to talk just briefly about the PAL building. About 20 of us, most of the council, and myself and several of our directors went through the PAL building. If you haven't been there recently, it's pretty sad. Two issues. One is certainly from Sandy. There's no drop ceilings, lights are missing. A lot of it is not available, and two, it's 20 years old and we haven't maintained it, so a lot of it needs to be repaired. We've really broken it down into 4 different categories. Number 1, Public Works is immediately taking care of some insulation, sheetrocking, spackling, and painting. So that they're making those efforts as I'm talking to you now. Number 2 is I've reached out to Caesars, who's agreed to provide all of the new furniture that's now 20 years old. So the seating, the sofas, the lounge areas, and that will be coming from the Atlantic Club, but they only renovated 2 years ago, so that material will be provided by Caesars. Number 3 is that there was insurance, both privately and from FEMA. As that funding comes in, all of the repairs, which I asked the director to make a large list of, so from a new floor in the gymnasium to new curtains for the theater to new windows to lighting to water fountains to lockers, etc. Whatever is not picked up by the cost of the insurance, I reached out to CRDA and they've agreed to make a one-time investment. So give us a few months, but by this summer you'll see PAL up and running as a building. The second part of that is our police have been lacking in being present and working with the program. With Chief White, he has now agreed to bring the police back into PAL. So I told you before, you need to give the chief a couple of months, because he really is working every day on trying to make things right. And there's no one in the city that doesn't know that things are wrong. So it's not like there's this little cloud and we're trying to deny it. We all know that we have to fix things with the police department. So one of them is community policing, back in PAL. With the councilman, they're going to find 7 locations, and for 10 weeks this summer at all 7 locations, and we're talking about Busby and Stanley Homes and Brigantine Homes, we're going to be showing movies with the police department as part of the youth programs. From the meeting last month here, I've indicated to a number of people that have come to talk about musical programs for kids in the summer, that certainly the Basin is available, and anything else the city owns is available for free concerts at no cost. But more importantly, I'd rather help you close the streets, do a block party, bring it back into the community, so the musical and the entertainment that you want becomes part of the street, becomes part of the community. So there'll be no problem with you bringing those items back. With the police department, I want to tell you that the chief has already ordered body cams for every patrolman on the street, including all of the K-9 officers. So by the end of March, every police officer will have a body camera and a microphone. There'll be no more question anymore what's going on. You'll be able to see what they see, you'll be able to hear what they hear, and you'll be able to hear what they say, and you'll be able to see what they do. So it's part of the open dialogue and the transparency that we need with the police department. The police chief has assigned a sergeant to be present at all times before any K-9s can be used, so that an officer can't assign a K-9 unless there's a senior officer, a sergeant available, and force is not going to be permitted except for protection of an individual officer without a sergeant as well. And then finally, we know that we have to fix internal affairs. It's taking 11 to 12 months to actually hear your complaints when you place them with internal affairs. A good department does that in 12 weeks. Our police chief has agreed that all of the internal affairs are going to be handled in a 12-week period, and then that information will be made public. So he is working on transparency. I have to tell you, there are 330 cops out there. We need to deal probably with 7 or 8 officers that we're concerned about, but there's about 300 good officers out there, and we just need to have a whole new open communications with police, and the police have to have an open communications with the residents. You'll see that the chief is going to be assigning 6 additional officers to foot patrol as soon as the weather breaks. We have cameras now in Village 3 of Stanley Homes. You'll see cameras in Village 2 and 1, and they're working on both the Inlet and Jeffrey Towers. All of these will be coordinated with the other cameras in town, both with our police department as well as the state police, and with the federal agents that we have in town that are working with gang violence. You mentioned entertainment. Someone in the community, I'm sorry. Yes, the library has funds to provide entertainment for our residents. So if you would like, please feel free to talk to Maureen. I will talk to her first thing in the morning, but I'm sure she'll be very excited after I speak with her to speak to you and to help fund some of these programs, because we certainly want to bring cultural programs to our community. I know you said to be short, I'm sorry. I'm almost done. Movies, I'm sorry? The curfew? Okay. So I don't have the authority to have a curfew, but a curfew is going to be discussed by City Council, and that's it. That's enough about that one. Okay? Finally, youth programs. The councilman and I met this morning. We're going to be bringing together PAL Boys Club, the football, basketball, soccer, cricket programs, any other youth programs together, so that we can try to coordinate all the programs in the city. We were both surprised that the city spends $1.4 million for youth programs. in the city. We're trying to find out where that $1.4 million is going, and if there's a better appropriation that we can work together. And then we're going to work with the service club at the high school to ask them to put all the youth programs on a website and on Facebook. So there'll be an open communication so you know when they're signing up for different programs, and everybody will know all the programs that are happening in the city. And then in the same light, you know, we understand that, and I don't want to drill down too deep on the problems, but they're very simple solutions. Don't need to have a rally for this. You can't play soccer and baseball at the same time on the same field. So we're going to fix that. Baseball is going to stay at Pete Polito. We're going to bring back the soccer field in back of the ice skating rink. And as soon as we move ahead, certainly by this summer, we'll have a soccer field that has a synthetic field out in the Heights. So we'll have 2 new fields for soccer for kids that want to play soccer, and we'll have a field dedicated just for baseball. Finally, our police officers are bringing back the Babe Ruth leagues for the older boys. Since we don't have a program right now, you'll see there'll be sign-ups in the next couple of weeks. So I'm not saying these are the solutions, these are part of the solutions to what we're doing, and it's part to helping our youth. And every time we have a child involved in a positive activity, it means that we have adult mentors that are reinforcing for the parents a positive attitude to stay straight, to stay in school, to not get involved with gangs, to stay away from guns. And I think it's all our responsibility as a community. You're here today because we all know that the violence is out of control, and the lack of respect for human life. We don't know what happened. How did it happen in our community, on our streets? But it has. And so I thank you for coming, and I hope you're going to continue with the committees, and I assure you we're going to do everything we can, either as a city or pressuring some of our private sector, our casinos, our businesses, to help solve these problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hello, everyone. How you doing tonight? I was sitting next to Mayor Guardian, and I don't think he likes to sit down too much. He was moving around pretty quick, and I think he wants to get doing. And his plan for what we're talking about tonight, the violence and getting the community together and have that interaction between the police and the community is very important. Prior to being assemblyman, which I was elected in November, I was the mayor of Northfield, and we've had incidents. Even though Northfield has a low crime rate, we had some problems in our community. And the best way to face your community problems when you have crime is you hear from your residents and your community what's going on. We had neighborhood watches, and we had National Night Out, which is a very important program that the residents get to meet their police officers and to know who they are and to have a working relationship with them. So I like what I heard from Mayor Guardian as far as all the activities to get kids off the street, get a mentor, get teachers. I think it's a very important part. And you know, when we were campaigning, violence and gun violence was a very, very active issue. It's very important. All the laws in the world, it's very important that we start on grassroots and the community comes together and makes an effort to stop this violence. And when someone gets killed or shot in the neighborhood, it goes through everybody, and it's not a good thing, and we don't want to see that. We want to see our community thrive. We want to see our community not have these problems. And as Assemblyman, I'm here on the state level, and I come to these meetings, and I want to thank Kaleem Shabazz for inviting me because I want to be part of it in any way that I can help, and that's why I come to these meetings. So, you know, this is Atlantic City we're talking about, and the mayor seems like he has the pulse on it, but he needs your help, and any part that I could do, I'm here. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
And to thank Kaleem for inviting me tonight, and most importantly, I want to thank all of you as the volunteers in this community who are stepping up, giving your time, your energy, because you obviously recognize the problem and realize the only way to overcome it is by working together. Years ago, when I served in the Army, we had a motto that was "No one left behind." And I can tell you that certainly when we are dealing with children and the future of our community and our future leaders, they cannot be left behind. And the only way to make sure that they are not is through the hard work, the dedication, the perseverance that all of you are putting into this project. My wife teaches right here in the community at New York Avenue, third graders. And I can tell you, when I learn about children who are going home at night and not sure if they're going to have any supervision, who are hungry, who are tired, who are scared, who want to just come to school 7 days a week, and I know that she keeps them after school with her and lets them play on the computers. I know that we have work to do. But I also know, when I look around this room and I see all of these good people, I know that what's written up there, Mark 10:27, couldn't be more applicable than it is to all of you. All things are possible. And if we have the right attitude and we work together, and with the leadership that I see in this room and the dedication of all of you, and Atlantic City and the community is not something that's new to me since I've been elected. For over 20 years, I've been participating in community events. For over 20 years, I've been given to different causes throughout the community. My father used to be the chief of the Atlantic City Beach Patrol. Back in the late 70s, he started a drown-proof program where he'd take kids from the inlet and they try and teach them, make sure they learn how to swim. Where he started a poster contest in the schools to make sure that young boys and girls who are growing up on an island understand the importance of knowing how to swim. So I have a family and myself which has a proud and rich history right here with all of you. So I thank you very much, and I thank you, Clem.
Marty? Where's Marty? He had to leave? Okay. That's okay. Okay. That's all right.
Good evening, everyone. The mayor pretty much took my thunder, but something that we can add to is that tomorrow, actually Wednesday, we're going to have on City Council agenda a resolution supporting the metal detectors as well as Class 2 officers in the schools. He also touched on revamping the rec department. I know Councilman Gilliamy, which I think I am. I don't know who I am anymore. Councilman Delgado is pretty much moving in that direction to try to figure out how we can revamp our rec department and make it more conducive to the 21st century. A lot of times we find ourselves being stuck in the wheel going around, and now it's time to actually revamp rec by getting some input from the community. What sports do the community like? Atlantic City has become very diverse in the last few years, so now we have a sport that we never probably thought we would have in the city, which is cricket. We laugh, but it actually is a sport that everyone is playing in a certain area of the city. But that basically leads me to let you know there's a good opportunity to basically use sports as a conduit to grab the minds of our kids while they're occupied. One of the most important things that I had when I was coming up in Atlantic City was a rec program that actually developed the whole entire person. It wasn't just about sports, it wasn't about winning, it was about actually producing young people to be a positive aspect in the community. So I'm proud to actually be a byproduct of that, so I'm also even prouder to actually reinvent the rec program to begin to implement those things that actually supported me. We're also in the process of looking at youth violence initiatives from a city standpoint. The beauty about the community of Atlantic City, we have various organizations trying to do the same things. So we need to basically break those silos, come to the table, and actually begin to put our heads together because, again, this thing called violence is a long and deep road, and it's not going to be an easy task, so it's going to take all of us to make it happen. And lastly, from a political standpoint, I know some of the homeowners in Atlantic City are getting summons in the mail pertaining to their trees and their pavers. I wasn't privy to sit in on that meeting, and maybe Mayor could basically highlight what happened in the meeting. But we're going to try to find a way to actually take that financial burden off the homeowner, because we realize that, you know, I mean, these are very turbulent economic times for people, and we as a city want to try to find ways to actually help improve the town without breaking folks that's already broken. And lastly, there's one issue that I have with the Board of Education. And we have certain policies that are on the books that prevent some of our youth from getting a much more quality education, because if you happen to have 3 fights, you automatically are ostracized in terms of staying in mainstream educational population. So with understanding and knowing that there are some mental and behavioral issues that go on with our children, we need to basically be looking and finding the root opposed to punishing them. So that's something that I'm going to basically try to spearhead and actually get some dialogue with the district to find out why we still have those forms of policies that prevent people, specifically youth, from getting back into mainstream, especially when you're talking education. When a kid wants to go back and get an education, you should basically break whatever rule or policy you have and revamp that and get that kid in that positive educational community. But with that being said, I want to thank this organization for doing what they do. Whatever way we can help you guys out. I'm going to take responsibility of not New York Avenue School, but maybe the 3rd school I'll support. Okay, thank you.
Our last speaker is going to be Councilman Delgado, and then we're going to have Reverend Bay for remarks and benediction, and then we have refreshments in the adjourning room.
Excuse me, everybody. I came in a little late, and I just wanted to add on to it. Of course, there's a lot of momentum being built as far as the city trying to give and provide programs. Some of the additional programs that I wanted to mention and highlight is that we're looking to introduce a visual arts and a performing arts school in the city of Atlantic City. There's actually 2 identities that want to come into the community and utilize some of the facilities to provide educational backgrounds to help with those who have talents and skills. So when they come back they'll be looking into the fiscal reality about either obtaining a building that's there, or possibility of seeing if they can partner with the CRDA to build an additional building. So we have that to look forward to. Not long ago, I met with the mayor with the potential, and I know my colleague and I were talking about seeing what we could do to have actual community centers set up, one closer to Venice Park, one mid-city, one uptown, one in the deep 5th and 6th wards. So we'll have a community aspect directly in the community. Because sometimes we have these fictitious barriers that we place on one another. Like back in the day, nobody could go past Arkansas Avenue, or you can't get past this community, and that community shouldn't be like that no more. So we're not going to give these kids an opportunity to say, no, it's too far. Or we're not going to give our neighbors a chance to say, no, you can't go there, because it's right there in front of your neighborhood. So we're looking to look for those community centers directly in the community, run by the community, supported by the community, economically supported by the communities, those type of things, autonomous programs. But it's helping from us. That's what we're looking to do, sir. In addition, as a preventative aspect, we're arduously working towards making people more aware of the job markets and our youth, and trying to implement programs to introduce them to things that they're not necessarily looking forward to. I was privy to not long ago, I don't know if Kaleem had talked about the opportunity of law enforcement. Not at all? Okay. There's an opportunity for our youth to come and get involved in the youth, into the initiatives to launch them into law enforcement. We're talking about some high-paying jobs. So if we can eliminate that barrier that law enforcement has placed on our community, by themselves and by some of the anger and the issues that we've had, maybe we have some opportunities for our youth to go into law enforcement. We're looking to enable our youth through some of the efforts that we're working on by training our youth, getting our young folks and adults back to being employable in a real market. Let's not just feed the casinos, because we're looking for alternate methods to feed our families. So I know there's entities that are looking to come into the city of Atlantic City. God willing, they will, and they're non-gaming. So we're going to try to give them opportunities to see the best that we got, the cream of the crop that Atlantic City has, so we can keep that money here. Because unfortunately, reality is that too much of our money is leaving. So whatever we can do to keep our money here, to support us, that's what we intend to do. So God willing, we'll mobilize all this together. Continue efforts. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Councilman. We're going to try to keep these meetings to an hour so that everyone will look forward to coming, so they're positive and we are productive. Minister Fareed Abdullah is going to be coordinating what the council was talking about. On May 3rd, we're going to have a law enforcement career day, and it's going to be law enforcement entities at the state, the federal, and the county level, and we're going to be targeting underserved communities. And underserved communities, I don't have to list them, we know who they are. They're the African American community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community, the Islamic community that is not represented in law enforcement activities. We had the first meeting here, and Fareed is going to be our social director, social media director, to make sure that we get the word out to young people. So if anyone has someone who's interested in law enforcement career, we're targeting ages 14 to 24. See Fareed Abdullah will be making this announcement. Tomorrow, Tuesday at 6 o'clock for the Board of Education. Please join us there for that meeting. The next general meeting is going to be here March 31st at 5 o'clock. That's the last Monday in March. And again, let me thank the committee members. Let me thank the committee chairpersons for their hard work. Let me thank Sister Smith for her work. Someone sent a very interesting comment, and let me read this as I call Reverend Bay up to close us out. It says, look into meshing Pleasantville children as well, because there's definitely a beef between AC and Pleasantville. Most of the current shootings stem from this problem. That's the word on the street. My ears stays very close to the school. Thank you, whoever sent that. We are on that. The chief of police, I know, is in constant contact with Pleasantville. Mayor Tweeter was supposed to be here tonight, but he had a therapy session to attend. So we are aware of this, but thank you. And you'll be hearing more about some of the joint efforts that we're going to do. In fact, this Law Enforcement Career Day, Fareed, I was talking about that before we came to the meeting. We're going to reach out to youngsters in the greater Atlantic City area. As Mo Delgado said, there's a lot of opportunities in law enforcement. Reverend Bay to close us out. And again, thank everyone, and we have refreshments down the hall. Thank you again, Reverend.
Thank you, and will you join me in giving Kaleem Shabazz a... We got the right man for the job. He's steady, his leadership is steady, and we realize that we've only come a little way, and we still got a long way to go. But on behalf of all of us, we want to let you know that we encourage you, and that on behalf of the religious community, we offer both human and material resources and pledge it to this effort. Let us bow our heads. Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There is no searching of his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to those who have no might he increaseth strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Amen.